Hold on one second. Before the video gets started, I do have to say one quick thing. This video was recorded day 2 of the early access to The War Within. It was supposed to come out the following day. However, I have been busy behind the scenes, currently buying a new home, preparing to move all this to a new location. So the editing on this video took a little bit, it's coming out a little bit late, and I apologize for that. But all that said, these were my first impressions of The War Within, the good and the bad, after 2 days of playing in the early access. Enjoy the geeking out and enjoy the rants. Well, everybody, The War Within has officially been released, at least for some people, early access. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. I just hit level 76 down in the Ringing Deeps, so I think I've got a good grasp of the expansion so far. There's certainly a lot that I still have to do and I have to explore, so I want to make a quick first impressions video of this expansion a few hours into it. You want a quick summary of this video? Expansion solid, it's a lot of fun, but there are some misses in this expansion. Nothing too major, but some things that definitely should be pointed out and critiqued a little bit. But I'm going to talk more about that in a second. I'm going to talk about the story, I'm going to talk about the gameplay, and then at the end, I'm going to give some kind of like general conclusions and some final thoughts and stuff. This is my first impressions of The War Within. And let me just clarify one thing before we get started. This is not a review. This is a first impressions. All right, so let's talk about story. One of the things that really stands out with this expansion is that Blizzard is really pushing the storytelling element of The War Within. One of the things in particular that I think Blizzard did very, very well from a storytelling perspective with this expansion, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so you might want to skip ahead maybe like 45 seconds or a minute into the video, Xal'atath. So if you're going to have a villain, like, a big bad guy in your movie, in your video game or something, you need to show the big bad guy doing something that impacts the audience in some very impactful and meaningful way. So in the beginning of The War Within, Xal'atath not only kills Khadgar, but she also destroys Dalaran, which has been a very special place for WoW players since Wrath of the Lich King, when we got to walk around in there and play around in there and AFK and run in circles. Dalaran has been in WoW for a very long time. Khadgar has been in WoW for a very long time. He's pretty much a living meme in the World of Warcraft community. And Xal'atath destroys both of these very early on in the beginning of the expansion. And I think, at least for me, I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool that Blizzard would do something like that. Now, I did the air quotes when I said that she killed Khadgar, because he kind of half dies off screen. We see his hand getting disintegrated and stuff by the big void bubble, but we don't see him die. He could have teleported away or something. He might appear later on. He's got one arm or something, like the lady later on in the expansion. Haven't ran into her yet. So yeah, I felt that the introduction to Xal'atath in this expansion was very, very good and very, very impactful. So big kudos to Blizzard for that. Now, I will say that once you get to the Isle of Dorne, after, this big epic intro, the storytelling does get a little bit not bad. It just really slows down. It sort of turns more into just helping these earthen dwarves and learning more about their culture and stuff. It's nothing too big and crazy. Of course, you do end up fighting the Nerubians a lot. At least for me, I kind of get the vibe from it that I sort of had the first time I watched Lord of the Rings as a kid. The dwarves, they delved too greedily and too deep, and they delved into the goblin tunnels, and you had this big conflict between dwarves and goblins. And so sort of look at it like that. The dwarves, they're like this subterranean people, and there's these disgusting, degenerate insectoid monstrosities that they've encountered underneath the earth, and we have to crush them under our boot. So, you kind of get those vibes. Just treat the insects as the filthy communist bugmen that they are. Then you just got to go out and incinerate them with your flamethrowers, as it should be. My favorite part so far has been Bran Bronzebeard hanging out with his grandson. Any quest where those two characters are together is really cool and very heartfelt, at least in my opinion. And also, there is a specific quest line in the Isle of Dorne where you pretty much help a earthen who is suffering from dementia. You're sort of helping him with his shutdown preparations. He has this assistant who helps him, and you're sort of working with her and also dealing with him as he's losing his memory. Go to a place that's very, beautiful. It's down by the beach. And this is where he is going to shut down permanently to just become a part of the environment. And that quest is really good. Like, that's a very solid, good quest line. And you guys will see once you guys get to do it. So now let's talk about some gameplay, shall we? So the gameplay has been very smooth, very like well optimized, no lag, no big graphical issues here and there. You know, Blizzard's very much on point with that. Although I will say there have been a couple of bugs that I have encountered in the War Within, and that is not a pun on Nerubians. There have been a few NPCs that I have not been able to click on, mobs going in and out of the ground, you know, really slow spawn times in some areas, but all of this has been very few and far between, so the gameplay has been very solid so far for the War Within. The leveling speed has also been really good, doesn't feel like it takes too long to level up, doesn't feel like, you know, it's doing it too quickly. So leveling to level 80 so far has been very much a pleasure. One thing though that very much surprised me when it came to the gameplay of the War Within is this. I know some people probably already knew this, especially if you were really involved in like the alpha or the beta. If Blizzard gives me access to the alpha or the beta, like, yeah, I mean, I'll jump in there and I'll play around a little bit, but only a little bit. I just want to taste it, share a thought on it, and I want to get out as quick as possible because I want to have that genuine launch experience with all you guys, like, you know, the surprises, the twists, the turns, the whatever. So one thing that maybe a lot of you guys knew about, but I didn't know about this, which was a big pleasure. Like, it was like, whoa, was delves, and specifically how Blizzard is handling delves in the War Within. What I mean by that is Blizzard has essentially copied Elder Scrolls Online with how they handle their delves, which I think is awesome. When I first heard that delves were announced, I thought that what was going to happen is as you quested through these new zones, periodically you would be getting like, you know, a quest every so often in the main storyline telling you to go through this delve and then go through this one and then go through this one. And that by the time you were at the end of the main storyline, you would have gone through all the delves and, you know, the story would have been told and whatever, yada, yada, yada. Well, that is not the case at all. In fact, the only delve that you're required to do in the main storyline anyway is just the first one. It's just like a little sample, you know, whet your appetite sort of delve. And then after that, like, you aren't really told to go and do any other delves. You're just kind of questing through the world. You might have a quest that sends you in like the direction of where a delve is, but you just find these things and you're just like, oh, hey, that's a delve. Do I want to go in there? Yeah, let's go in there and let's go and do one. Or you might be like, you know what? I don't want to go in there. I don't feel like doing this delve right now. And you can just walk right past it. That's exactly how Elder Scrolls Online handles their delves. It's just an optional piece of content over there. And I really love this, especially there's a lot of people that obviously they got that PTSD, you know, from Torghast. And they're like, oh man, like, you know, I don't want to be forced to do this crap. You know, I have no interest in these delves. I mean, I see you guys in the comment section, like, you know, I'm not blind to you guys. But like the fact that this is, you know, entirely optional, like I actually really appreciate that. So far, I have done only 2 delves in the War Within, but I've certainly ran into other ones and I've just been like, nah, not interested, and I just skip over it. It's not really my favorite piece of content so far. I'm really focused on the story. But anyway, it's a big win, I think, on Blizzard's part. However, I do have to criticize hero talents just a little bit. Hero talents are both a win and a slight loss, at least in my experience and in my opinion. And let me explain what I mean by that. Like, in the War Within, your character is exactly the same as they were at the end of Dragonflight. There's just a couple of little passive sprinkles thrown on top. Like, for example, my Frost Death Knight. It's the same Frost Death Knight experience that I had in Dragonflight when I was playing Nixium a little bit. But the only difference now is periodically, you know, a member of the 4 Horsemen appears to help me fight for a couple of seconds. You know, and I also, of course, have mounted combat as a Frost Death Knight, you know, doing the Rider of Apocalypse talent tree, which is cool. You know, you're riding around and, you know, you can move faster while you're fighting mobs. But, you know, you don't really feel that different from maybe how you felt at the end of Dragonflight. It's not like you feel like you've got this. My issue is this. Let me just put it this way. Hero talents don't really feel that heroic. Like, maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, but there's no quest line to unlock them. There's no sort of thing, like sort of something happens in the game where your character becomes like more empowered and is like awakened to new knowledge that makes them even more powerful than they are before. Like what exactly, what is so heroic about these talent points other than the fact it's just 10 more talent points? You know, and so it's a very, that's not a huge criticism. It's not like I'm like saying that like ruins the whole system or whatever. But you know, if you're gonna make something called heroic talents, you know, I would think that there was like a story reason or some sort of quest chain to unlock these things, really make you feel like, whoa, like my character has been awakened to this new heroic potential. And this talent tree that has been unlocked is there to sort of represent my character's progress down this new and empowered heroic path. But instead, it's just you hit level 71, you unlock your first, you know, heroic talent point. That's pretty much it. So I don't know. I just feel like Blizzard maybe could have done just a little extra something there. But, you know, heroic talents are fun. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm having a great time playing this Frost Death Knight, you know, riding around on this horse and, you know, summoning Mograine and Nazgrim and stuff. Like, it's great. I just wish there had been like maybe like some sort of thing to like unlock it, I suppose, or some story reason like why my character has this new power. So again, it's a win, but I think there's also a little bit of a loss in there as well. I've done the first dungeon of the War Within multiple times at this point, 3 times actually, and there's not really much to say about it. Everybody's overgeared to Sin because of Dragonflight, so you're just kind of like, you know, storming through it. So can't really give any opinions on like, you know, the dungeon side of War Within so far, but I did really like the dungeon. I thought it was fun, and I have not done any PvP yet, so I can't say anything yet there either. I will conclude with this. The expansion has been really fun so far. People really seem to be enjoying it. I'm certainly having a lot of fun with it so far, even if I've got like, you know, these little minor criticisms and stuff. It's cool, but you know, I can't make any definitive like statements about, oh, this is good or like this is really bad or whatever until like we get to experience some endgame. But I am going to actually end this video on a negative note, because I do have to say one final thing, and it is this. It is something that everybody is talking about. I thought about making a whole separate video about it, but I don't think that it's necessary. It is simply this. There is one big L when it comes to the War Within, and it is the early access that Blizzard did. Personally, I am not a fan of this whole, hey, if you give us extra money, you get to play the game early before anybody else. I am not a fan of that. I know a lot of you guys are not a fan of that, especially if like you're a younger person, you don't have like $100 frickin' to drop on this game in the collector's edition and crap. Dude, I have seen the memes, I've seen the posts of people saying like, hey, this isn't fair, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, I like experiencing the launch of an expansion with everyone. I like that. And so I really think this was a huge L on Blizzard's part, doing this whole like, hey, if you give us extra money, you can start the game early. I'm not a fan of that, and I never have been. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Nixium, you know, if you don't like the early access so much, like, you know, you're clearly playing the early access, so what's up with that? Here's the thing. I bought the original base game for the War Within, and then Blizzard, for some reason, decided to send me the collector's edition. I did not buy the collector's edition. I saw those comments on that unboxing video. I did not buy the collector's edition. Guys, I didn't even buy the classic WoW, like re-release collector's edition. Like, I don't care about collector's edition, and, you know, like this sort of plastic garbage that you get with it. I don't care about that. Maybe you guys do, but I don't. But they sent me the collector's thing. Of course, it's got the code in there. You know, oh, you got your cool mount, you get a little bit of game time, I think, and, you know, whatever. So redeemed the code, got early access. That's the only reason why I'm in there early, but I don't like it. So I'm with you guys when you guys say that, hey man, like, you know, the World of Warcraft expansion launch, it's like a sacred thing, man. Like, you know, it's something we should all be experiencing together on the same day and running around, crashing the server, you know, and finding bugs and, like, you know, sitting on the login screen for 3 hours pissed off. Like, dude, that's special, man. Like, that's like a shared community experience, man. Like, that's what it's all about, you know? So I don't know. Blizzard probably justifies it with like, well, you know, we're getting a couple people in early, so it's like the launch is smoother and stuff. And I don't want to hear that chicken shit bullshit. It's just greed, and I'm not a fan of it. So I think that's the big L for the War Within right now. I mean, the expansion's fun, it's solid, it's cool. I just don't think that was a good move PR-wise with Blizzard, especially since Blizzard is not a the most they are not the most beloved company in the gaming universe. So anyway, those are all just my first impressions of The War Within. Thank you all for listening to my ramble. And to conclude, because I totally forgot to mention Zygor at the beginning of the video, guys, you should totally check out Zygor, link down below in the description. They are World of Warcraft's ultimate add-on, and man, dude, you gotta check them out. Like, yeah, dude, like, right down there, man, check them out. That's right.